Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Great Northern Game Night. I'm your host, Tony.
I'm your co-host Matt.
We're here to talk about video games. First things first, last half of this episode is going to be pretty spoiler heavy for Lisa, the Painful RPG. If you're planning on playing that, and I will say that I do recommend that you play that, or at least
Me
don't
too.
spoil the story for yourself. Uh,
Yeah.
you'll know when we start talking about it because I'll make another mention of it. But there's going to be some spoilers. I think that's about the only thing we have spoilers for, though.
Yeah, everything else, it's not going to be, we're not talking about the sorts of games that are too story heavy aside from Lisa, so
Yeah.
I think we'll be okay for the rest. I did kind of want to start the show off by talking about some news, some very tragic news that, of course, happened last week. This actually happened during, or the news was broken during our previous broadcast, I believe. But
Right towards
anyone
the
who's
end.
got their ear to the ground knows by now that unfortunately the president and CEO of Nintendo, Satoru Iwata, has passed away. He had some kind of issue with a bile duct tumor last year in June of 2014, and at the time it was successfully treated, but unfortunately it returned, and he was not able to defeat it this time. He was one of the most incredible. Actually, I want to say he was the most impressive executive that they had yet. He was the fourth president and CEO of Nintendo, but he was apparently the first one who was actually a game designer. And you can kind of, if you look at the history of Nintendo, you can tell what an impact he had. He first became president of that company in 2002, and the Wii was released 4 years later, and that was, I mean, Nintendo's always been super popular, right? They're one of the three. They've always been one of the three big faces of gaming, but the Wii was just an unbelievable, crazy success, and that and the Nintendo DS as well. Those were huge, and that all happened under his leadership. It's really impressive just to see what he did while he was there as just leading the company. But
I would say,
what more people may not know, though, if you go back and actually look at his history, like he wasn't one of these like indie devs that you see today where they'll make like two or three games and then demand to be, like hired by a major publisher or something. This guy was unbelievable. He first worked for HAL Laboratory when he was still in university, and God, he worked there for a long time. I want to say like 20 years or something
yeah.
before he actually was picked up by Nintendo. He worked extensively with Nintendo while he was at HAL Labs, but yeah, he was there for a really, really long time, and he had a direct hand in making tons of games and starting franchises too that are still super popular today. He's responsible for the creation of Kirby's Dream Land. He did something incredible with Earthbound, and I didn't even know this until I started reading into him. I'm a little ashamed to say I wasn't very familiar with Iwata before all this happened, other than what I know from his public appearances and so on. He's also pretty outstanding for that, actually. I don't want to call it public relations. Like, he just really, really liked to talk to people. He
Yeah.
was so active on social media. Everybody, anyone who's a Nintendo fan knows he would always do his regularly scheduled Nintendo Direct conferences. There's also this section on the Nintendo website called Iwata Asks, where he'd comment on, various Nintendo games. He was really, really involved with the community, and I think that's the biggest reason why people are really mourning him, because more than anybody else, or more than most other people in the industry, I think that he was more than just an executive to people that are fans of Nintendo. Like he showed enough of himself that people really felt like they knew him, or at least that he tried to make himself really known as more than just a suit. And yeah, other than consequences for Nintendo as a company, I think that's why people are really mourning him. He seemed like he was actually a really really good guy and not just an executive. So yeah, that I just wanted to mention that. It is very tragic, of course, that he passed away the way he did. He was only 55. He was still a young man, and he will be missed. He'll be missed greatly, not just by his friends and family, but by all of us.
Yeah,
And
he's basically the reason that Earthbound came out. They were having some kind of issue; they couldn't like finish coding something in the game, and he basically like took over the game completely, and like
yeah,
finished all of the coding that there was to do by himself to get the game pushed out the door.
Yeah. He
He
wasn't just a
was,
good programmer, by the way. Like he was a fucking wizard, this guy.
yeah.
He was unbelievable.
I would say probably. I mean, I know that the Nintendo 64 was still super popular, but I would say around that era is when Nintendo started to like. They weren't like the end all be all of fucking video game consoles. I mean, like regular
Yeah.
Nintendo, Super Nintendo, those were it. Like that was it for video game consoles. Um, and probably I would say they dipped a little bit around like the Nintendo 64 GameCube era. They were still obviously one of the three big names, but I would say probably the Nintendo 64 and the GameCube were less popular than the PlayStation and the PlayStation 2 or the Xbox and the Xbox. You know,
Definitely the PS2 for sure. I haven't seen any numbers, but that always seemed like the PS2 was, far and away the most successful console of that generation.
yeah. And then I think
It's great. I had one. I love the GameCube, and there's a lot of really really good titles for that system, and that deserve to be played. But yeah, PS2 definitely kind of knocked it out of the park.
yeah, it was great, but it was I would say probably less popular than like the PS2. Um,
Yeah,
and I assume that Iwata was a big force in deciding, hey, instead of trying to compete, we're gonna split off and we're gonna make, I mean, they were considered part of the big three, but the Wii, I mean, was never meant to be a competitor for the Xbox 360 or the PS3, or
yeah.
I guess actually the PS2, and because it doesn't follow like the same generation structure as Sony and Microsoft have been doing, really.
Yeah, they've always kind of been staggered against those other two companies. And you're right, actually. When I was looking this up, I did read that Iwata was mostly responsible for kind of taking the Wii in the direction that it was going, where they kind of stepped back and said, "Okay, look, there's all these other markets. Who can we appeal to?" And then they started really not just trying to appeal to kids, but families.
Yeah.
And that, like everybody knows, that's a massive reason for why that console was so successful. I don't even know how many units they sold, but it was a crazy amount. Like Wii Sports, that was bundled with it, is one of the best-selling games of all time, if not the best-selling. It's in the top five for sure,
Yeah.
like along with Tetris and Minecraft. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a testament to what he was able to do. He really made that company grow under his leadership.
Yeah, I want to say a Super Mario game is in that top five, but you know, uh, pretty sure Wii Sports has fallen out of the top three, but only if you consider all of the Pokemon games together as one franchise. This is like franchises that I'm looking at.
That doesn't count. No way. It's got to be single games. Well, I don't know. They're all pretty similar to each other, so maybe it does count.
I believe Wii Sports might be second if you're considering not just franchises.
Yeah.
It's like Tetris, Wii Sports, Minecraft. I think Grand Theft Auto 5 actually is in the top five. I believe that it bumped itself up in
That's
there.
pretty surprising. Like, of total copies sold for all time?
I believe so, yeah.
Huh. How about that?
Yeah, it's number 4. Sold 52 million copies.
Jesus.
It passed up the original Super Mario Brothers, which is now in 5th place. So it's Tetris, Wii Sports, Minecraft, GTA 5, Super Mario Brothers.
Unbelievable. I never would have guessed GTA 5 sold that many. That's wild. Wow.
Well, it's on a bunch of different platforms at this point, so...
Yeah.
Wii Sports is the highest selling, one platform only game. Because Tetris is counting like any of the iOS sales and stuff.
Oh, yeah. You can get Tetris on freaking anything these days.
Yeah. So I don't know if I have I don't really know a ton about Iwata's past aside from what I've read since what happened.
Yeah.
I don't really know if I have anything particular to add. It'll be interesting. They haven't picked a new CEO yet. I assume they're going to give it some time because it's not. I mean, Nintendo is like a board-run company, really. So they don't technically They're not like, oh my god, we have to get a CEO right now.
Yeah. And like in the interim, they still have people that can kind of oversee things before they select another one.
Yeah. A lot of people, I was reading online that a lot of people were they were saying oh, maybe they'll send Reggie over to Japan, but I don't think so. I think Reggie is right where he needs to be over here in America.
He's already got a job
Yeah,
overseeing Nintendo of America.
yeah. He would be wasted in Japan. I think. I mean, he wouldn't really like fit in with the Japanese culture or anything. And I always get the impression that Reggie isn't like he's more of like a PR man than like a business running man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he knows that people like him, that people like his face and the things he says and all that. So I'm sure he takes advantage of it,
Yep,
no doubt.
I love his face. He has a good face.
He does have a good face, very strong.
um,
Oh,
so
I do have one last thing I want to point out
okay,
actually for Iwata. I had it written down. I forgot about it. If for anybody who really didn't know what kind of a guy he was, remember he was the CEO and president of Nintendo. He's the president for over 10 years. Because the 3DS and the Wii U weren't as successful as their predecessors, the Wii and the DS, 2 years in 2011 and 2014, he voluntarily halved his own salary. Now he's still making a lot of money, obviously, but I mean, he gave that much away as an apology for not making those products as successful as he could have. Like that's how dedicated he was to that company. It wasn't just a job to him. I don't think.
yeah, he was. We didn't mention this. He is like straight up the first president of Nintendo since 1889 that is not part of the Yamauchi family. All the presidents before him were from the same family and not really like video game people at all, I don't think.
That's true. I think I mentioned earlier, but I believe he was the first actual game developer uh, to come from like already having a successful background of games development and then being brought into Nintendo. And then he wasn't brought in as their CEO. He started
Yeah.
as something else that
He
I
like
can't remember.
climbed the ranks basically.
Yeah, yeah, he
Um,
was there for some time before he was promoted to head the company. So yeah, he definitely earned his place there, no doubt about that.
yep.
But yeah, like I said, he'll definitely be missed, and everyone's kind of waited with bated breath to see not only who's going to succeed him, but also what this is going to do to Nintendo. What's going to happen to the NX system that they're developing, if anything, because as amazing as he was and the kind of leadership he could provide, he was still one guy. So
Yeah.
I assume they still have their plan that they're going to stick with. They've already put too much time and money into it anyway. But it'll be interesting to see how things are going to change because he had such a massive, significant impact on the direction and the success of that company. Things are definitely going to be different, I think, for better or for worse. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Um, I think we were gonna move on to we've IGN I think released a it's basically like the gameplay footage from Fallout 4 from E3, but they've kind of stitched it all together. There's some new stuff in there.
Yeah, they
This is
extended it a little bit.
I presume this was shown like on the show floor or something to people instead of during the press conference. So it's like a 5.5 minute gameplay like showing for Fallout
Yeah.
4. Um, and there's a lot of stuff in there that like maybe now that the knee-jerk reactions from the initial announcement are out of the way, like you can look at a little bit better. Like I will say definitely when I first saw like at E3 I was like, "Oh, the animations and the graphics don't really look that much better." No, they definitely do. Like the animations are like infinitely better than anything Bethesda's ever put out.
Oh yeah,
Um,
and I think part of it is a reaction because the animations that or at least were present in the trailer are maybe not as good as some other games that have come out this year or upcoming games. I definitely agree with that. Although anyone who thinks this doesn't look better than Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, even though that's the title, anyone who actually believes that, I think they're just kind of looking for a reason to complain. If you can sit back and kind of think, all right, look, this isn't going to be the best looking game that's going to come out in 2015, maybe not even 2014, right? I think it's still going to be really good. It definitely looks a damn sight better than the previous titles they've released. I think it looks better than Skyrim too, for what it's worth.
oh yeah. Um,
So,
I
yeah,
was watching because I watched it a couple times because I wanted to look at like the animations, and a lot of the animations are a lot better. I did notice there's still some issues with like armor and stuff clipping. Like I was watching, there's a
yeah,
part in the trailer where he's in the power armor suit and he's using he's holding like a vertibird gun turret, but he's using it against this death claw, and he does a VATS thing, but he has to reload, so he's like pushing the clip in, and like his like greave is like clipping through the shoulder of his armor when he's doing it, and I'm like, ugh, might have double checked that and left that part out of the trailer. But
This is the big problem, by the way, with armor sets like that. If you compare the armor, the power armor in the isometric games, particularly like go back and look at the Enclave power armor in Fallout 2, and if you actually look at the sprite, it's this massive hulking, like his head doesn't even protrude above the shoulders. It just sits in these massive pads, and it looks good from that perspective, from that far away. But if they were to bring that exact armor set into a shooter, there's no way it would work. It would look ridiculous with the kind of, if they want to make it animated well. And that's actually why I think that the power armors that showed up in Fallout 3 in New Vegas look a lot more subdued. They're clearly a lot slimmer. They can be better fit in with the stock running animations in the game, because I don't think they had different animations. I think they just have one running cycle for everything, no matter what you're wearing. It's probably going to be the same thing in Fallout 4. I have no basis for that accusation, but I feel like it is, or at least for little things like reloading and stuff like that. I think that's definitely going to be a problem, because the power armor in this game looks fucking awesome. It actually looks like big and heavy. It looks like power armor should.
I assume that it's going to be like that, like it is in the trailer for the rest of the game. Like, you don't carry the power armor in your inventory and just like, I want to put this on, and it takes your character like half a second to switch into some massive power armor. You have to push a power cell into the back and open it up and step into it like a fucking, it's like an exosuit basically.
Yeah. And it looks like you have to deploy it. You have to call it in, and a vertibird flies in and drops it off or something.
Yeah.
I didn't actually see that happen, but you can drop down a flare and call in some kind of air support. That is something that was in the trailer. I don't know if that's how they deliver the power armor or not. It might be that you just kind of hop in an Iron Man style at your base and then take it where you need to go. I'm not sure. But
and in the trailer, it was like already there. It looked like because you pull the vertibird turret off a crashed vertibird right in front of the power armor. So I assume cool. The vertibird crashed and the power armor is just there or something, and it's probably just a set piece for their little trailer. But that
actually makes me wonder if there's going to be more weapons that are like too big to hold if you're not in the power armor.
God, that'd be awesome.
The power armor enhances your strength. And there's no way that you could pick up a fucking a vertibird massive chain gun just with your arms, right? Not happening.
Yeah, that's not.
So I wonder if that's just strength. If there's more, or if you can just pull out weapons that you normally use while you're in the power armor, like you can in all the previous games, like pull out your pistol or your crowbar, or
which
whatever.
Doesn't really make any sense. Maybe melee weapons, but you would not be able to get your finger in the trigger housing wearing power armor. You could use like a baseball bat.
It probably will. It'll just clip pretty bad. So we'll see. I do hope that's the case, just for gameplay's sake. It would be dumb to get in the power armor and then all of a sudden all your favorite weapons are just kind of locked out. I know it doesn't make sense. Yeah, the armor, you can't just reach into your pocket and pull out a pistol, but hey, it's a game,
just
right?
Pull the glove off. Pull the glove off.
Yeah, just throw the glove off and pick it up.
I mean, I'm certain you're going to be able to check your Pip-Boy in the power armor, and that doesn't make any fucking sense because it's under the power armor. But
I wonder how it's going to look, though, because they still have the animation where you kind of pull it up to your face and look at it. And you fiddle with it.
Just smash yourself.
Fingers at good.
Yeah. I do like that they the Fallout 4 and Fallout New Vegas, well, maybe just the Fallout 3 Pip-Boy, the wheel to change your screens was on the wrong side, so realistically you would have had to reach across the screen, and they fixed that in Fallout 4. The wheel is right there on the side, so you can just tick through things.
It is on the proper side, yeah.
And you actually do that when you switch the screens, which is awesome. There's a little animation that plays. I am definitely looking forward to Fallout 4.
Oh man, I can't wait. Although I will say about the Pip-Boy thing, it's cool that they have that little knob that you can switch between the different screens. But when you're going down screen menus, I didn't see the character actually do anything, like press a button or something.
No.
I feel like if they're going to do it, they should go all the way. But hey, it's still a few months away. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see.
I am definitely looking for, the thing where there's more color is kind of cool, but that doesn't really concern me because there's going to be mods to add color even if there wasn't any color. I'm more concerned with the gameplay and stuff. I'm hoping that there's some new stuff. The weapon mod stuff still looks really cool, so I'm pretty excited for Fallout 4.
I think the one thing that we'll probably run into is in some of the videos you're shown with the player character shooting Brotherhood initiates, and there's guys in power armor. If you have to salvage parts from other power armor to unlock more pieces for your power armor, it's probably not going to be as easy as, okay, well, any character wearing power armor, I'll just kill them and take their armor, and that's that. Even though that would make perfect sense,
Yeah.
I don't think that's how it's going to be because gameplay. You might get like a chance to drop a single piece of their armor that they're wearing. I don't see them making it that easy. That's all. I think there's going to be a lot of NPCs that are
Well,
wearing armor or clothing that you can't actually loot off their bodies, even though it was rarely the case in previous games. Um, I, I don't know. I'm just worried about that. I suspect that just might happen, and I don't even know why I feel that way. I
I
just
don't
have this
know.
gut feel.
I mean, people wearing power armor are going to be fairly rare, I would assume. Uh,
Maybe.
I mean, they were in the other Fallout games. I mean, you could get to like the Brotherhood like areas, and there were a bunch of people in power armor there. But out in the wasteland, you would rarely see them. So
That's true. Yeah.
there wasn't really anything new though from that trailer. Just stuff that we kind of like reestablished, looked at
Yeah.
a second time
They
without
they just added
talking.
a few more minutes of just running around doing the gameplay. They introduced a new character whose name I can't remember right now, but there's some kind of town hall section, and the player runs in there. He tells you to pick up a gun, a laser musket, by the way. That sounds cool as shit.
Yeah,
And it didn't look like it was that practical. Like it's obviously going to be a very low end energy weapon, but man, you
it was
fire it
like
and
a
you actually like turn this crank to
yeah,
generate more power. That's so cool. I
it was
love
like
it.
a laser bolt action basically.
Yeah. That
Um,
was super cool, man. I'm looking forward to just that section where you get a laser musket. That thing's awesome.
I will
Can't wait.
say, I feel like the voice acting is really good on everything in that game except the main character. I feel like the main character's voice acting is like really, I don't,
Yeah.
from what we've heard so far, oh, it does not sound very good to me. It all
I think
sounds like,
it's
it sounds like he's holding the script up in front of the microphone to me and just reading it directly off of the script. Like
it
he
does seem
like
a little
pets the dog and he's like, "Hey there, buddy. You all alone out here?" Like there's no
yeah.
inflection, but the voice acting on the other characters is great. Like the guy, I can't remember his name either, but the guy that tells you to pick up the laser musket, it sounds like really natural.
Yeah, he was pretty good. Your robot's good as well. I liked Codsworth. He was as I'd expect a robotic butler to sound like, I guess. And even in the intro parts, they haven't shown any actual gameplay where you play as the female lone survivor, but just your back and forth with her as you're running out of your house. That
Yeah,
I thought she sounded pretty good as well. So I'm looking forward to more of her lines also. I hope that the sample that we got from the player character, the male, is like not entirely indicative of the actual voice acting for the whole game.
yeah,
Each character does have 13,000 lines, like per gender.
yeah.
So I've actually seen a lot of talk around the internet where people are worried that it's going to be like, oh no, it's 13,000 for the whole game, and this game has so much more. What's going on? Or 13,000 split between the two player characters. But no, it is 13,000 lines for a single character. It's not the most number of lines that have been in a game with a voice protagonist, of course. An example that's frequently cited is The Witcher 3. I think Geralt. I have no source on this, but apparently Geralt has something like 20,000 lines, which is a lot.
Yeah.
But even 13,000, that still sounds pretty good. I thought his voice was okay. It's not something that I think will bother me during the game, especially when I played like Mass Effect, which has pretty goddamn shitty voice acting. I have to say. I think both the female shepherd and male shepherd voices in that game were very, very just subdued and like kind of blank slate because they didn't want to make Shepard feel too bipolar. I think was how they phrased it. So
Yeah.
they told the voice actors to just kind of keep it neutral, keep it low. Like for the most part, don't go too emotional one way or the other. And it really kind of made some of those voices come across as just not that great. I'm not getting any of that from the new Fallout 4 voice. I think it's all right.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely not the best, but I think it's good enough for me. I'll
I
say.
feel like with Mass Effect, like they didn't want to say it to the people doing the voice lines, but I think in the back of the head they were like, try and make it sound really race neutral.
Yeah,
Like that's the impression I get is like try and make your voice as like plain and basic as possible, so
yeah.
that no matter what race somebody makes their character, it's gonna work. I did want to bring up real quick. We can see the chat, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We're still kind of feeling out and trying to get to the point where we can like interact with the chat and not run over our time limit by a really long amount. So
It has
we're
been a
not like,
recurring problem with
yeah,
us.
so we're
Yeah.
not interacting a ton with the chat yet. We're still kind of figuring out how to do that. But at some point we will be interacting with the chat when we, because we're like at this point we're straggling for topics every once in a while. Like a couple of weeks we're like, we didn't really play all that much this week. But
Yeah.
so we can see you. I can at least, and I am acknowledging that I can, but it's until we're kind of like better at gauging our own time limits, we'll keep interaction to like a minimum
Yeah.
because we'll get carried away and go like an hour and a half again, which we don't really want to do.
That being said, if you do have any questions, like feel free to put them in the chat. If we have some time at the end, or throughout, if it's relevant or something, we'll try to address it. If like Tony said, if we're not going to be running over our time too bad.
Yeah,
And
I may be interacting with people through chat as well. So if you have any urgent questions and we're talking about something, I'll try and answer them in the actual text chat. So just so you guys know, we can see you. We see that you're there. Thank you for supporting us. We're figuring things out so that we can actually interact with people and
Yeah.
also not go off on tangents and get completely distracted, which we're pretty bad at. So.
And I don't know about you, but once I get my second monitor, I'm gonna have like Twitter up there. You can tweet us. God, I love plugging our Twitter, man. It's GNGN podcast. And yeah, don't do it right now. I don't have Twitter up. I don't think Tony does either. But
I'm gonna plug this.
eventually,
But don't do it yet.
You can tweet us questions there if you're not in chat. Yeah, that's something we're definitely going to do. That is on the docket for sure. We want to have Q&A at some point and stuff like that. And it helps if people throw us ideas about what to talk about too, because we haven't had the issue of running short yet, even though I worry about it every podcast, but it hasn't happened yet.
Matt's
but it may happen eventually, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Actually, someone just asked something in chat that I do want to address real quick. Harry JT 1997 asks, "Do you think there will be different voices to choose for each sex in the game?" I don't think so. I think that for Fallout 4, they've already confirmed, I believe, that it's just the two. But I like when games do that. I know Dragon Age Origins gave you a choice of like, I don't know, 4 or 5 different voices you could choose from for your character. Some of them also throw in like pitch sliders and stuff like that, so you can do it even more. I think Saints Row did that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely a feature I like in games. I'd like to see more of it. I realize it costs, more than just hiring 2 actors.
Yeah,
but man, if you're as successful as Fallout, I think you could probably shell out a little more for voice acting.
I think the biggest issue is the extra time that it takes. And I think most games that give you options for voices, like Dragon Age Origins, your character doesn't actually talk in the conversations. Those voices are like just like battle cries that you yell in the middle of a fight or something.
Yeah, they're little quips and grunts of pain and stuff like that. It's not too extensive, but it gives you a little more customization to the character at least.
So it'd be cool if that's in Fallout, but I wouldn't count on it. Yeah, I'm not really expecting.
Yeah, Todd Howard has already mentioned that it's 2 actors for the main character. So it'll be 1 male, 1 female. They're going to be your average, like, white bread American actors.
Oh,
so,
yeah, definitely.
But hey, that's Fallout's a game about America, right? So it's okay for them not to have, like, French accents and shit like that.
I will say that, although it's really hard for me to word this without sounding, like, offensive.
Just do.
In the trailer that they showed for the actual character customization, the character starts out black, and the voice the voice fit just fine, but they switch him to white later, and it still fits for me. Like when I'm watching it, it sounded fine on both. Like I didn't think that voice does not match that person's skin color. Like that never really crossed my mind. Maybe if you were making like an Asian character, it might be like that's a little weird. I don't think there's going to be any like sex scenes or anything in Fallout 4.
No, I don't. Whenever it's happened in the previous games, it's always just been a fade to black. That's kind of their usual.
Yeah, it's
style.
It's definitely not a focus of that game. So it would be kind of weird for them to do that at this point. Someone will mod it in. Don't worry, you'll be able to like get hand jobs and stuff.
Thank you, modders.
Thank you, modding
community. You'll be able to climb into bed with your dog and just have a grand old time. Because
Hopefully,
you can do
some
that in every other game.
Oculus Rift support. Um,
Yo, that's gonna be great too. Can you imagine that? Like VR support with your power armor? Holy shit, dude.
that'd be so cool. Okay, I'm gonna move off of Fallout 4 because
Let's switch up.
we're
Yeah, yeah,
running
yeah.
some time. I wanted to talk a little bit because I've been playing Path of Exile since the last one. I don't really want to rehash too much on Path of Exile. I still have my complaints about accessibility and stuff. I will say that
Yeah.
I've been playing hours and hours, and I still have not reached the end game, which is what I want to be at. And that's a major complaint for me too. That it takes forever to get to the actual part of the game that people who are playing action RPGs are playing it for. They're not. Nobody is playing an action RPG for the leveling experience.
Yeah.
Um,
Actually, I want to interject there because we're going to be talking about Diablo 3 as well, and this kind of ties into Path of Exile. What you just said, that you want to get to the fun stuff at the end, but the way there isn't very fun at all, and maybe at times it feels like a grind. When Diablo 3 was released, it was the polar opposite of that. Like, the end game sucked, unless you had a very, very specific build, like the 4 monks keeping each other invincible all the time. You couldn't do Torment 6 any other way. But the leveling was actually super fun in Diablo 3, I thought anyway. Like, the actual road there was pretty good.
it
And
wasn't
then
even
once you
Torment
get there,
at that
the
point.
brick wall. Yeah, that wasn't even the problem there. There were certain builds that just didn't work.
That was when they still had Inferno and Hell difficulty and stuff. But
Yeah.
the problem with the end game was even if you could survive it, you weren't going to get any fucking good items. So who cares? And
They've come a long way since then.
if
but,
you did get a good item, you were going to sell it for $250, not use it yourself. There was no point in using it yourself when you could sell it for $200. So I don't really have anything specific to add for Path of Exile. I'm not hating it, but I'm playing with other people and we're just kind of rushing through everything. So
Yeah.
Diablo 3, good segue because I want to talk about Diablo 3 a little bit. There's with Diablo 3, they introduced, that adventure mode. And the thing about adventure mode is you're basically in the end game at level 1. Like, you're not farming for legendaries, but you can play, you don't have to play through the leveling content if you don't want to. You can just start doing like bounties and stuff at level 1.
Yeah.
Everything is way faster. You can max level in a day in Diablo 3 if you're playing all day.
That's pretty much all we do now, too.
Specifically,
Like, we just do adventure mode now. I don't think we haven't done campaign in so long.
yeah, you do adventure mode basically. You get one good item drop, and then you crank the difficulty up to like Torment 1, and you're gaining like a level every pack that you kill, basically.
Yeah.
But Diablo 3, we are probably going to go back to Diablo 3. There hasn't been anything new yet, but there's a new patch on the horizon. It's on the test server right now, and it adds a ton of different stuff. It's basically adding the Herodric Cube from Diablo 2. It's adding you can pull affixes off of your legendaries and equip them to your character so that you don't have to be using that legendary. You can convert yellow items into legendaries and it just picks a random legendary of that type and makes it into one. You can completely re-roll your legendaries, all the stats on them, possibility to get them back as ancient instead of just the regular legendaries. They're adding a lot of stuff to make it so that the grind is a lot more satisfying, I would say. So that when you get a legendary drop now, it's like, oh, that's a bow. Who gives a shit? I'm playing.
Who cares? Yeah.
I'm playing a barbarian. But like, you can like break it down now into these parts, and then you can use the parts to make a rare into a legendary. So they're basically making it so every little bit of grinding that you do is beneficial. So that there's no like, there's no, I played for an hour and all I got were shitty legendary drops. That was nothing for me. Because you could break legendaries down before, but the crafted ones weren't all that great anyway, so, who cared really?
It seems like the whole update is just a way for them to be like, hey, look at all this cool stuff you can get now.
Yeah.
And you can get more of it, and it's easier to get. Come back and play. I think that's what this update is. Yeah. And I am. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. I was just talking to you before the podcast, like not even an hour ago. I lost my authenticator, for my Battle.net account. It's gone. So, that was actually a really good experience, by the way. We got to plug Blizzard customer service here. They were very friendly and very fast, and they got me back on my feet. So I'm ready. I'm updated. I'm ready to play, dude.
Yeah.
That's going to be like another week of my life just gone again.
Yep. Yeah, I'm pretty excited because it really just seems like what they're doing is uh, what normal Blizzard fans would call making the game more casual, um, which is like my
They're
favorite
making it
thing.
easier.
My favorite thing to
Yeah.
make fun of typical Blizzard fans for, but they're basically making it so you're not really wasting any of your time when you're playing the game. All of the
Yeah.
time that you put into the game is going to be worthwhile in some way. And I was reading some people in the test server are like, well, if you want to completely reroll a legendary, you need 50 Forgotten Souls, which is what you get for breaking. You get one for breaking down a legendary. So they're these things that will, you'll finally have a purpose even for the shitty legendaries that you get. Um,
Yeah. I
and
just hope there's not a limit to it. Like if you totally reroll one legendary item and it's not quite what you wanted, if you can still do it again and again,
I assume so.
that would be amazing. That would be perfect, even if it takes a long time to do it.
It'll all be interesting, but as usual, when a big patch comes to Diablo 3, I will come back because that's what I do. I'm a sucker for really big patches in video games, basically. Things that add a lot. And I love when
Yeah.
games do that. Like, we talked about Terraria, like, in depth. We haven't played Terraria in a while, but
It's been, yeah, a little bit of time.
yeah, any game that like doesn't do just a bunch of tiny patches, but releases like one big patch with a shitload of stuff. I'm totally
Yeah.
into that. Um,
Is there a reason to go back and play? Whatever the game is, doesn't even matter, right?
yeah.
It's new content, so
So what I want to do now is I think we should get into Lisa because I think we're gonna have a lot to say about that game.
yeah,
So
let's dig in, man.
if you are still watching, there's going to be Lisa spoilers from here on out. So Lisa, the Painful RPG, is a game that I assigned to us because Matt had a busy week planned, and I thought that it was going to be a short little indie RPG game. How wrong I was.
Oh yeah,
It's not long. I would say there's probably like 12 hours of gameplay in there. We both put in about 8. We both stopped playing at the exact same point in the game and almost just about the exact same amount of playtime, which
yeah.
which is a testament to Matt's ability to play the game because he's playing on the hard difficulty and I'm playing on the normal difficulty.
Now,
And
we didn't know this at the time, but at the start of the game, you don't actually, like in the menu, I don't believe you choose your difficulty setting there.
no,
There's a character that says, hey, you deal with pain pretty well. Would you like a more painful experience in this game? And then, like, they don't tell you what that actually means. They just
no,
say, hey, like, do you want it to be harder? So I thought, okay, well, like, fuck it, why not? Let's do it. So I said yes. I think, Tony, you said no.
I did say
And
no.
you are probably not regretting that at all.
No.
I was. So I haven't noticed any other differences because again I haven't played through it on non-painful.
Yeah.
I can say that the most immediate difference that we noticed, maybe the only one, I don't know, is that with save points on painful mode, you can only use them once, and that's it. They explode after you use them, they're gone, and you gotta tough it out and progress to the next one if you want to save your game. I probably lost maybe 3 or 4 hours of gameplay because like I would do something stupid, like there'd be a screen transition and immediately there would be one step and then a cliff. And if I'm not expecting it, then I'll just fall off and die and then lose all my progress.
Yeah.
I learned that lesson pretty fast. And after that, it was okay because as long as you're not being a complete idiot beyond the first couple hours, you do get enough save points where you can kind of be like, all right, I know where that save point is. I actually got to the point where I would pass by a save point and not take it because I knew that I recently saved. And if I lost, like if I died now, I wouldn't be losing that much progress. So I would go forward beyond that. And then if I really, made a lot of progress, hit a story point, if I picked up some more characters, then I would go back and hit that point. That's actually leads to something else I wanted to talk about as well, the backtracking in this game. You do go back and forth a little bit. They give you this, there's a fast travel option to go to the different major areas, but there's a lot. And something you mentioned was because the game world can change in some ways. When you do that, like you'll go back and you'll see these changes you made. Some of them are immediate too, and we'll get into this in a bit.
Yeah.
This what I'm about to mention, but there are parts of this game that are pretty fucked up, and in many ways. So. I don't want to mention it yet, but go ahead.
Before we get into that, I just want to do like a quick recap. We're talking about Lisa, the Painful RPG. That is its subtitle. It's a game that's available on Steam for $10, and it's like a really old school, like pixel art side-scrolling RPG. And
Yep.
I didn't really know what to expect going into it, but I will say that it's probably one of the most fucked up games I've played in terms of like story and stuff. It's really impressive what they did with this tiny little like pixel. I mean, the screen opens on your computer and it's like this fucking big. And you can make it bigger, but it looks like shit. So you basically just have to play it at this tiny resolution.
Yeah, it's like playing a Game Boy game. It's this little tiny resolution.
Yeah,
If you've ever emulated older systems on your PC, you
it's
know exactly.
actually probably exactly the size of a Game Boy Advance screen. Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
So I really like. I wanted to talk about the fact that in painful mode you can only use the save points once. You can only save at these certain points on the. It's like a raven sitting on a little
Yeah, like a little
pedestal
post or something. Yeah.
But the fact that you can only save once, I think, is a good thing because there's very little times in Lisa where you will walk out into an area and be blindsided by like a boss fight or something really difficult. It's almost always like you walk into the area and you can see like a bunch of guys standing in a group and you're like, I'm gonna have to fucking fight all those guys.
Yeah, you can decide to go and do the encounter or not for the most part.
It's very good about giving you warning that something is coming up that you might want to deal with. So, I mean, I can use the save points as many times as I want, so I save every time I walk past one, basically. But
yeah,
the fact that you can always see these encounters coming is really good for this painful mode because you won't want to use your save point the first time you see it, guaranteed, unless it's been like, an hour and a half. But you walk past the save point, and I imagine your first instinct is, well, let me see what's going on around here. If there's a big fight coming up, I'll save.
At this point, yeah, like I'll explore the whole map. I'll go transition to different areas of the map and look around and be like, all right, I guess I'll try to like plan out my trip. Like if you go on a road trip somewhere, you want to plan out your map routes. You want to find the gas stations where you're gonna, stay at motels along the way. You got to kind of do that for this game once you get to a certain point. There are a few areas in the later sections of the game because I think you and I are pretty close to the end. Is it 3 acts in the game? Because we both just started
so.
Act 3, I believe.
I believe so.
But at least where we are now, like there's save points kind of peppered around at this point. Not so much that they're excessive, but you can't go more than 1 or 2 map screens before seeing one.
Yeah.
So it gets, in that sense, a little easier. I did want to say what you're talking about with the enemy encounters, how you can go into an area and you can see them. This game is super tongue-in-cheek about that exact thing. Like you'll go into this area and you'll see a boulder there with a dude like peeking out from behind it, and then all right, I'm gonna walk up to the guy and he's gonna jump out and attack me, and that's exactly what happens.
You can't avoid it though.
What happens. Well, some of them you can, and okay, this is a little bit of a spoiler. It's not a big deal. There was one where I ended up going around behind a guy that was hiding behind a cliff ledge. So, like if this is the ledge and his face is over here, I walked up to him from this way, and then he didn't attack me when I got close, so I actually activated him and I talked to him. And he said to me, could you please take 2 steps to the left? So I did it, and then he attacked me. It was amazing. Like, I knew what was coming. I knew that was going to happen. When I saw that, I was like, all right, this is obviously that kind of encounter. So I did it. And that kind of stuff comes up a couple times throughout the game. It's actually pretty funny. Like, for all the pain this game puts you through, and it stands up to its name, by the way. This is a game about pain. No bones about it. But there is some actually really good humor in this game. I thought there were parts of it that were pretty damn funny.
It's equal parts like really fucked up, like really morbid stuff, and then really like humorous, but also kind of still fucked up dark humor.
Yeah,
like it's got a lot of dark humor to it, and you were trying to avoid spoilers. Don't worry, the spoilers are coming. But another thing that I wanted to mention is this game is really good about balancing certain stuff. It will pull no fucking punches in a boss fight with you. The way that the boss fights, because it's hard to tell if you're in an actual boss fight or not until you start fighting an enemy and he doesn't die in like 5 hits. But the boss fights, no matter what level you are, they're fucking brutal. Like, you will probably die the first time you fight any of the bosses in this game, unless you've got some really cheesy strategy, which I do at this point. But it's like the bosses are fucking difficult, and there's all sorts of really cool things. Like you can rest at campfires to heal, but there's a really high risk versus reward there, because every time you rest at a campfire, there's a possibility of something happening to your character. Now,
Yeah.
sometimes you'll sleep at the campfire and nothing will happen. You'll wake up and you'll be fine. Sometimes you'll sleep at the campfire and a masked man will show up and fart in your face right before you wake up, which is irrelevant. It doesn't actually do anything. It's just a funny little segue. But
Yeah, it's world building. That's all it is.
sometimes you'll wake up and some of your stuff will be gone. Someone will have stolen stuff from you while you were sleeping. You'll wake up sometimes and one of your party members will be kidnapped, and you have to go find them and get them back and pay like an exorbitant amount of money to get them back.
Yep. I'm so sorry, Terry.
You can still go
So
get
I
him.
found him.
You can still go get him though.
Yeah, I'll have to backtrack and go get him.
Yeah. And did you this is like stuff that nobody's gonna get but us and other people that have played the game. You got the guy with the truck, right? Do you still have him? Ferdy, I think
yes.
his name is.
Yeah, his
You
name is
can-
Farty. Still have him.
You can fast travel, right? Back to the areas that you've been before with his truck keys.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
the fast travel method. I mentioned that earlier. I haven't really used it, honestly. I like to go through areas manually, unless I'm like, really low on health and I want
Well,
to get somewhere quickly.
All it can
But-
do is put you at the start of each act. It doesn't actually
Yeah.
bring you anywhere else special. But it's
Yeah.
I haven't really backtracked all that much, but with the money that I have now, I could backtrack and get my guy back that was kidnapped, but I wouldn't really use him because I've got my party all fleshed out. But you might want to do that. And maybe I'll tell you where the guys that have your man are. But I will tell you because that area is really funny, and you might not have been there before if you can't remember where it is. But
It's not the area with the bees, is it?
no, it's the
Because I
area.
think it's the Pretty Boys that have my Terry hints.
There's
And I found some people that looked like they should have been called Pretty Boys, but they weren't.
There's
And,
you'll know the Pretty Boys because you'll walk in and there's like a gym and there's this music playing and everybody's like pumping iron. They're like lifting fridges with people sitting on top of them, and there's like pictures of naked girls all up on the wall, but it's all really like homoerotic in there.
Yeah. Oh,
there's
that
a-
by the way, that's the big thing. I want to briefly mention like the setting of this game. So in this game, it's a typical RPG for the most part. Like you have your party and everyone has different moves and you have to buy equipment and stuff like that. The currency in this game is dirty magazines. It's
Yeah.
porn, and this is because through some catastrophe or another, all of the women in this world are gone. It's only men left, and you learn this at the very start of the game. So this isn't even a spoiler, but you discover someone who is probably the last remaining girl on the planet, as far as you know. Like all of society has kind of adapted into this post-apocalyptic world where there's only men. So, yeah, like porn magazines have kind of accrued more value than money or gold or weapons. Like this is the currency. And so you'll see a lot of that actually. Like there's a brothel you can find, and instead
That's
of
the
women,
bees.
there are no women. That's the bees. Yeah, it's just men dressed up as women.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of
And
cross-dressers.
I don't-
That's all. it is.
I don't know how much you explored that building, but you can actually take a side job as a male prostitute to earn extra mags.
I did that. Yeah.
And the funniest part is there's a lot of these mini games. There's a wrestling mini game where you can become like a professional wrestler. There's the prostitution mini game. There's one other one that I don't remember. They all of the
Russian
interfaces, yeah, all the interfaces for these, except for Russian roulette, are in the combat system. So when you're you're not pretending, you are being a male prostitute. But when you're doing that, you get into combat with this guy, but your combat options are like whisper or scratch or
Scratch his
stroke,
back or whisper sweet nothings in his ears.
massage or something, and they all
Yeah.
have a weakness, like one thing that they really like, and you have to beat them in battle to have sex with them and earn your money, basically, which I think is hilarious.
And your character, by the way, like he's an old, fat, balding, middle-aged drug addict. He doesn't look attractive.
which is mentioned by
He's in
many
bad
people
shape.
that come in.
Yeah.
They're like, I paid 20 mags for this, and then they just.
I don't want to spoil all the encounters in there, so I won't say anything else about that, even though I really want to. But if you run into that situation in Lisa, definitely do it just for that experience. It's so funny.
Lisa
Really
is.
good.
I will say right now, Lisa is one of these games where if you don't skip any optional stuff because it's all awesome, it's all hilarious. I did all of the wrestling stuff. I did the tag team wrestling matches and I did the basic ones. Did you do all of those, by the way?
I haven't done any wrestling yet. I bumped into those guys, but I didn't go in and talk to the manager. I know I can probably go back and do it if I want to, but it hasn't happened yet.
It's a good way. It doesn't get you money, but you get an item at the end if you do it all. And you get a new party member if you do the tag team stuff, but he's not particularly good.
Hmm.
I will say, you brought it up earlier. I know we're kind of bouncing all over the place with this game, but fuck, what was it? I'll come back to it when I remember it. So I wanted to talk about the basis of this game because it's really fucking dark, and this is where the spoilers are going to kick in. By the way, so you play a guy named Brad, and from what I can glean from it doesn't like lay the whole story out for you in plain text. Like it shows these kind of cryptic cutscenes, and you have to figure shit out from that.
But, you got to infer a little bit.
As far as I can tell, your character, Brad, back when you were a kid, you lived in an abusive home. This was before the apocalypse or whatever happened. And you live in this abusive home with, like, your drunk dad, and he, like, throws a fucking beer bottle at you at the beginning of the game. Because you got beat up at school. He hits you with a beer bottle. And you have this your sister, I think, and she's younger than you. She's like a baby, and she's, like, the high point of your life. And something happens in which I assume she dies or something. I don't know for sure yet because we have not gotten that far. I am almost certain this is the titular Lisa. Your sister is Lisa. That's where the name of the game comes from. But it's pretty much confirmed that she dies at some point because Brad is like, he's desolate at this point after the apocalypse. He's addicted to this drug called joy. He's just like a shitty guy in general. Like, he's always down on himself. He doesn't care about anything. And they find this baby girl, and he decides that this is, like, his second chance. He talks about it a lot, that he, like, screwed something up. I assume, like, protecting his sister or something, and she died. And so he needs this as, like, his second chance.
Yeah.
And that's the basis of the game. She gets kidnapped, and you're on, like, a quest to go find her again. And I don't want to spoil, like, really specific plot points, but this game is, like, no punches pulled when it comes to the fucking dark nature of this storyline. This girl basically has been kidnapped so she can be raped continuously to repopulate the Earth. Like, that's the basis of the story in, like, no minced words. Because she's the only female left, so without her, like, there's no repopulation potential. Although I will say, and this is a pretty big spoiler, I don't think that the women are actually gone. You got to the same point as me. The guy who is, like, the main antagonist and your character's drug dealer initially, he makes a comment about how the girl, whose name, they just call her Buddy. That's what Brad called her, is Buddy. But he makes a comment about how Buddy would be good for the other girls. And Brad's like, what did you just say? And he's like, oh, don't fucking worry about it. Like, he brushes it off.
I remember that.
He mentions that. So there's probably, and I'm going to finish this game, but there's something else going on there. And the reason I have not finished the game, and this is what I really want to talk about, and this is kind of spoiler free, is that this game beats the shit out of you at every turn. Like, you will get choices throughout the game, and there are no good choices when you get to that point where you have to pick one or the other. They're bad. They're always bad. The very first choice that I had, I think, was it was like, give all my stuff to this guy or give him one of my party members. Terry Hintz, the guy that you lost as the you resisted and you kept Terry Hintz and, like, gave him your money.
I lost all my joy. I got lost on my money, my food, everything.
Yeah, he takes away your stuff or your party member, and I was like, oh, I really need that stuff. So I sacrificed my old buddy Terry Hintz. And this game has really good, like, branching pathways. I combine those two words apparently. Everything you do affects the world, and this is what I want. Okay, we brought it back to what I was going to say earlier, and I forgot.
Nice.
This game will change. Things will change based on pretty much everything you do, but it never tells you what has changed. It's really good about making you, like, you won't even know that stuff changed. I'll tell you what happened to me. These two guys, who are based on, if you've ever watched Two Best Friends play on YouTube, these characters are based on them, and they show up after you get this TNT at this point in the game, and you blow up all these rocks, and you're like, you walk up to them and they're like, hey, I see you got some TNT there. Can you give us some of it? I mean, you'll still have plenty. And I was like, okay, sure. So I gave it to them, and they gave me 100 mags, and I was like, oh, fuck yeah. But I was backtracking to try and find where I was supposed to go, and I went back to this village that I had been at before, and they've blown the fucking village up with the TNT. That's what they used it for. So you go back to this village, everybody in the village is dead except one guy who's just there to say he says like they killed them all. That's all he says or something. But like the buildings are all charred and blown up, so it's obvious that they like took this TNT and murdered everybody in this village. And I picked up the party members that you could get in this village beforehand. I just happened to. But if I hadn't, they'd be gone. There'd be no way for me to get those village or those party members. They'd be dead. But so you did not sacrifice your Terry Hints to the person that kidnaps him.
I kept him.
The kidnapper at the very beginning of the game is your old childhood bully, actually. And he rides this like bicycle with a horse head on it. Like that's his mount. But I run into them way later in the game, like right before the part that we're at now, and they have like changed Terry Hints into like a member of their game. His name is Terrible Terry now, and I have to fight him. Like they put him there as a boss for me because I gave him up at some point. But there's all sorts of like, there was a choice where I had to like either sacrifice my own arm or sacrifice like a member of my party or something. So I felt bad about the apparently your microphone's really loud, by the way, on the stream. So like I felt really bad about sacrificing Terry Hints that first time. So the next time a choice like that came up, I was like, okay, I'll give him my arm. And the way the combat works, each character has like slightly different combat that they do, but Brad does like martial arts, and I'm playing on a controller, but you can play it on the keyboard, and like the WASD keys all control a different limb when you're doing the martial arts, and if you do them in the right combination, you get like this a special attack that happens. But when I got my arm cut off, obviously I lost one of those buttons, and I lost a couple of my combos, but I gained some in return. Like, I have this one that's just like, I don't think you would have it, because you still have both your arms, right? Or did you sacrifice one right before the part that you're at?
You know what happened to me?
What?
I got to one of those choices, and they give you two choices, either pick one or the other. You can also tell Brad to say, hey, fuck you, I'm going to try and kill you.
Oh, you took that one, didn't you?
And I did that.
So, hold on.
That was a mistake.
Let's not be cryptic about this. Right before the part that we're at in the game, you run into the main antagonist, and he's had Buddy, but she escapes, and he's pissed off. And so he's like, well, I'm going to take your arm, or you can give me all your stuff. And when the dialogue option pulls up, it's like, give him the arm, give him the stuff, or fuck you, I'm going to kill you. And if you pick fuck you, I'm going to kill you, he just walks up to you, cuts your arm off anyway, and takes all of your stuff as well. So,
for me, what the option was, it was that exact part. What it was I could either choose one of those two things, or, and this, by the way, this wasn't all of your consumables like at the start of the game where you can choose to give up Terry. This was everything, like all your equipment, all your.
I will tell you.
I think it's all your items.
I think it's bugged. They don't actually take any of your equipment, even though it says it's supposed to. Because that's the option I picked. It unequips Brad, but all his equipment is still in your bag. All you lose is the things in your item tab. You don't lose the equipment. You don't lose key items or weapons. I found that out because I was like, I can't lose Brad's second arm. I have to give him my stuff. Like, I'll be useless with no arms. But
well, for me, it was... Oh, and by the way, at this point in the game, you know that this guy is Brad's childhood bully, but you don't know why he's tormenting Brad like this.
No, this is a different guy.
At several,
this is Brad's drug dealer. His childhood bully is like a minor ancillary character.
Oh, he's the guy. Oh no, that's not a bike with a horse head. That's an actual deer.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he rides the deer.
Yeah,
but
he actually rides the deer mount.
The guy you're talking about, I think, is Buzzo. He's got like the football armor with spikes coming out of it and stuff.
Yeah, it's this dude.
Yeah.
And you can do the choice that it gives you, or you can ask him why he's doing that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you ask him why.
Yeah. And then he just laughs at you, and then he cuts your arm off and takes all your stuff, like you said. And that's how I lost my arm.
No, I forgot that. That was the choice.
I was too curious. Yeah.
And I didn't pick that one. I just gave him my stuff. But that was because I couldn't afford to lose my other arm, basically. So, essentially, you can play this game completely different, as we have in two different playthroughs. So, like, your characters will get kidnapped, and you can go get them back, or you can just kind of leave them if you don't really. And it looks like if your character gets kidnapped, you can go back at any time and get them. Nothing bad really happens. Like, I went there and I didn't have the money, so I was like, "Fuck you, just give him back." And they were like, "Haha, no," and they just kind of pushed me out the door. But they didn't kill him, so like I can still go back and give him the money anytime I want.
I'll have to go back and do that for Terry.
Yeah.
I did stop playing for the weekend though, for a very good reason, and I do want to preface this by saying I think this game is really, really good, and I do recommend it definitely. However, it lives up to its name in more than just the physical sense. So this game is all about pain. It's not just about physical pain. It's not about how many injuries Brad sustains, although he does sustain a lot. No, this game actually cuts into your soul, okay? It will make you feel like a piece of shit
Yeah.
over and over and over again, no matter what you decide. And I got to the point where, like, where we stopped playing, I just had to sit back and be like, Jesus Christ, I can't do this right now. I had to turn the laptop off. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And then that leads back to us here today. I'm going to try and go back and finish it, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I need a little break from it because it's rough. Like,
yeah.
Like, it really does. No matter what choice you take, you're like, oh, I'm a piece of shit, man. I should have taken the other choice.
Yeah.
And that's the reason that I sacrificed my arm, is because the first time when I gave up Terry, I was like, oh, what have I done, man? I feel like shit. So, like, it's really good at, like, it doesn't actually make me, like, sad in real life that much, but it does make me feel like shit in real life.
That's what it was.
And
yeah.
that's like the specialty of this game, and I think that's awesome. Like, that is the game's strongest point, is it really, like, I mean, there's no realism to be had. It's like a super pixelated adventure in this weird, like, post-apocalyptic world where there are no females. There's almost nothing grounding it to reality, but
yeah,
it's still really good at, like, drawing you in and making you feel immersed in this story. Like, you actually feel attached to, like, and a lot of this is like, there's like banter with your characters. You don't want to sacrifice them. Like, some of them you don't want to sacrifice because they're really good at fighting, but like, I have some really shitty characters in my party right now, but I still don't want to lose them. And I will
there were
say,
a couple that I had no attachment to at all, and one of the choices where I had to let a character die or just cut off my arm, I was like, yeah, just take him. I don't care.
See, that's what I thought when I gave up Terry Hintz. I was like, I don't care about this fucking guy. Like, I don't have any attachment to this dude. And like, after I did it, I was like, man, I feel really bad now. I legitimately felt bad. And I will say, because here's another spoiler. There's two decisions that you have to make right before the part where we got to. We talked about the one where you have to give up your items or your arm, or question him why he's doing it, and you lose both of them. Right before that, he has Buddy, and he says, he captures you in your party, and he says, okay, well, I'm going to kill the other 3 members of your party, or I'm going to cut Buddy's nipple off. And Matt did not choose the nipple option, surprisingly.
Didn't do it. No.
So you lost, 2 of the best party members in the game to that.
I did, and I regret losing them. I don't know if I regret making that choice. But I was super pissed that I had to give up those guys, definitely.
Well, the way the game goes, it's kind of designed so, like, you don't need the best party members, because, like, some of the bosses are hard, but you get, like, items that can help you out. Like, there's fire. I still have a bunch of fire, or I did have a bunch of fire bombs saved up before I gave up all my items. But, like, I was just holding them for a fight that was hard enough to need them, and I never really ended up needing them. But if I'd given up, like, my really good party members, like, I had, like, my fucking core party with me. I was like, I can't lose these guys. Like, I don't know how I'm going to play the game if I lose these 3. But he throws you the nipple and you can use it as an accessory afterwards.
Oh, that's kind of fucked up. That's weird. Why would you do that, Brad? You fucker.
But it's totally like, there's no, basically anytime you get a choice, you're like, well, fuck, there's no good outcome for this. And like I was saying, there's a lot of balance of risk versus reward. Like, there's a guy pretty early in the game you run into, and he's like, hey, buddy, you can sleep in my tent if you want. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that sounds pretty cool. And so I slept in his tent a couple of times, and one time I slept in it, and, like, I woke up and there was a guy standing over me with like a baseball bat, and he hit me in the head really hard, and I like permanently lost some stats. I had like a concussion or something, and I walk out and he like killed the guy outside the tent. And I'm like, oh no, I feel really bad. I got this guy killed. There's guys that are like cooking soup on a stove, and he's like, hey man, you can have some of my soup if you want. And like I just kept taking the soup until there was none left, and then I talked to him. He's like, you ate all my soup. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know there was so little in there. It's so we've talked about like all the like how it makes you feel like shit and stuff, but I would like to
Yeah.
recommend that anybody that is interested in that kind of thing play this game. It's a total like the gameplay is actually good. Like the combat is actually fun. There's enough differences in like how your characters fight and stuff to actually make it fun, but it's also like a really nice like story based thing. Like it's really interesting to play through and see how fucked up all of this is. And they were not afraid to pull any punches when they wrote this story up.
There was something about that I wanted to mention. It's actually right on the Steam store page for this game. I gotta find it real quick. If you go through all the community reviews for this game, pretty much everyone that likes the game says one variation of the exact same thing, which is this game makes you feel so bad, but it's good. Which is exactly how I feel about the game. They're all like that. There was, man, you know how in a lot of these games they'll have quotes from different, magazines and stuff,
Yeah.
or websites, I guess. Jesus, that they'll say, "Oh yeah, look what this place said about our game,"
Yeah.
and
Lisa's
man,
page has some on it, and it's like,
there's some interesting ones that reflect that exact sentiment. That they're like, "God, this is going to make you feel like a terrible fucking person, and you should definitely play it."
yeah.
And yeah, that's my conclusion about the game as well. I really recommend that anyone who likes platformers should pick it up. And if you like the sort of more like kind of fucked up, beat yourself up kind of games as well, yeah, definitely pick it up. It's
Also,
ten bucks.
if none of that affects you, it's just a really good JRPG in its own right.
Yeah, if you just
at
don't
the same
care,
time.
you can have a lot of fun as well.
I will tell you my favorite and most accurate thing I've seen about this game. The last line in the description of the game on the Steam store page says, "A life-ruining gaming experience."
That's what. That's the one.
And
Yeah.
it's a picture of Brad Sprite holding a wilted flower, and that's like a perfect description of this game.
It really is. Yeah.
It's totally like, it's definitely worth playing, I would say. If you've got $10, you like JRPGs, and you have any interest in like, storylines that are not pulling any punches or fucking around at all, this is the way to go, I think. And there's all sorts of secrets in this game that you can find. You're not going to run into every recruitable character on the main path. You have to go off the beaten path sometimes. You can easily lose the chance to recruit some of these characters if you do things
Yes.
wrong.
And as we pointed out, you can also lose those characters once you have them very easily.
There's choices that you make that'll lose your characters. Sometimes there's permanent death abilities that can be used in combat, but they're really rare from what I was reading. But it's really easy to lose your characters to choices that you make, or they could get kidnapped while you're trying to rest at a campfire to get your health back up. So it's definitely a really interesting. I don't think I've played a game like it really. I don't think I've ever played a game. I played games like Dark Souls that beat you up through gameplay, but I don't think I've ever played a game with such a like a shitty like everything you do is bad storyline type of thing.
Yeah. There's no happiness in this game. It's
No.
all just shitty people doing shitty things to each other. That's
Also, I would like to mention, because we haven't mentioned it, the soundtrack for this game is fucking awesome. It's
pretty damn good.
it's really minimalistic. Like, it's really like most of the music is just kind of low atmospheric stuff. There's almost no sound effects in the game. There's
Yeah.
like the only sound effects you hear are like your character walking and stuff, and the music is really low at those parts. It creates this really good atmosphere. And when the music does play, I think it's fucking awesome. There's all sorts of really cool like status effect type of things. Your character's addicted to drugs, so every once in a while he'll go into withdrawal and he'll be fucking worthless in combat. It's a really well-made game for what it is, which is just like a GBA size screen. And I don't know how
Yes.
big the team was for this game, but it probably wasn't very big considering all the stuff that I've seen. But it's really solid. Definitely worth
Yeah.
$10 if you like RPGs at all. So,
Yeah. And this is a finished game. It's not early access or anything. It's done. play it, enjoy it, or try to enjoy it at least.
At
It's a
the
good
very
experience,
least, if you really don't want to play the game, like watch someone on YouTube play it or something, just to experience a little bit of the storyline. Because
Yeah,
it's totally like, it's the type of thing that I didn't really know that I wanted to play until I played it. And I was like, man, I feel like shit, but I want to keep going in this storyline. So I'll probably finish it, but I need a break from it. I need to not feel like shit for a couple days before I go back
yeah,
into it.
yeah. Same for me. I'm gonna hold off for a couple more days probably and see how I feel later.
Yeah. So I think that's our assessment for Lisa. Really good game for $10. Check it out. It'll probably be on. I imagine, like most indie games on Steam, it goes on sale constantly too. So
Probably.
um,
Yeah.
it's got a 78 out of 100 on Metacritic, which is that's a pretty good Metacritic score actually.
Yeah.
It's pretty
I feel
close
like
to.
this game it'll probably put off a lot of people, particularly certain, game reviewers and journalists
Oh
that
yeah.
can't quite just emotionally handle it. I think there's going to be some people coming away from this game with a bit of a bias that are just kind of thinking, "Oh, well, it hurt my feelings, so I give it a 5 out of 10." I
Also,
feel like I suspect there'll be a lot of that.
you also might not get as much out of it if you don't care about the like emotional parts of the storyline. You're like, well, it was just a JRPG. I didn't really care about the sad storyline.
Yeah.
If you have a heart of iron, you probably won't get as much out of this game. Um, so we're a little over now. I think we're done talking about Lisa. Um, we are going to, for the next week's trade-in, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to pick the same game, and both of us are going to play through it. And this is just a game that this game I think kind of really flew under the radar when it came out. I don't think it got terrible reviews. It didn't get great reviews, but
Yeah.
I also feel like there was like no marketing, no like push or promotion for it. It just kind of came out and it was there. And we are going to be playing Alpha Protocol, which is it's like a stealth spy type of game, but it also has like dialogue options, sort of like Mass
Yeah.
Effect type of
It's
thing.
pretty much Mass Effect, but in like the near future, and it's all about spy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
I've heard that the gameplay's not amazing, but I guess we're gonna figure that out because that's what we're gonna
we'll
play
find
this
out
week.
one way or the other.
And I'm thinking next week we're gonna go back to assigning each other games, at least for a little
Yeah.
bit. So we were going to do Alpha Protocol last week, but I stumbled across this game and I wanted to play it, and I was like, well, this would be a good one for the show. So, and I think it was a good one for the show because it's totally like we had two different experiences playing through the game, basically. So
Yeah. It's not a game, honestly, that I would have played if I hadn't been asked to, but I'm glad that I did.
yeah,
I am.
this game drew me in more than any game since I played Transistor. Like I actually wanted to play the game more because I was like, I got to see what's going on here, and to a point. At this point, I'm kind of like, oh, I feel like shit. But yeah, so we're gonna do Alpha Protocol for next week. Um, we will be here same time next week, 7 p.m. Eastern, Sunday, and I think that's all that we have.
All right. So, everyone out there, thanks for watching. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at GNGN Podcast. I think we have an automatic thing set up where it tweets whenever we
Yeah,
start to stream on
it
Twitch.
does.
And,
It
of course, a
also
Twitch channel.
tweets YouTube uploads, which the YouTube is now actually in the description of the channel. It's the only thing in the description of the channel. Um, I'm shooting for Tuesdays at the latest to have videos uploaded to the channel.
Mm.
I've been experimenting with not editing them because it makes them a lot faster to upload, and I'm just putting like stupid pictures over them when I do edit them. So
Yeah. Well,
so
yeah.
yeah.
So, thanks again, everybody that stuck with us for this hour. It's been great.
And
And
if the audio levels were all fucked up on the stream, like people were saying towards the end, the YouTube video is pretty much normalized. So you might want to check
yeah,
that out if you were missing something, like because of the audio levels.
we'll do some sound testing and stuff and see if we can finally get the shit normalized. Because at the start, I was way too quiet the first couple episodes, and now I'm way too loud.
Yeah.
So it'll take a little tuning, but we'll do it. We'll figure it out.
Yep. So we'll be around. The Twitter doesn't really get used that much, like I say every week, because it doesn't really have all that many followers. And
Yeah.
there's not really much to update yet because we don't have like the site going or anything. But we're working on all that stuff. Just actually doing the podcast takes priority over that stuff.
Yeah.
So
And you know what? If you do have a question or like if there's something that you want us to talk about, a new game that's come out, just anything you want to mention, you can tweet us.
yes.
Just tweet it at GNGN Podcast, because then it'll be persistent there, right? It's
Yeah.
it'll be a little more convenient than just doing Q&A during the actual broadcast.
Yeah. Yep. And next week we're gonna try. I think we're gonna try to interact with the chat a little bit more.
Yeah.
We'll go light on the topics because we already went over, and I thought we didn't have enough topics this week. So I'll go a little lighter on the topics. We'll see if we can get some actual chat interaction going. So yeah, follow us on all those things. Keep an eye on our Twitter. I'm not even going to plug the website because it's still a work in progress there.
Yep.
But we will.
We'll announce when that's actually like usable when it's there.
Yep. Yeah. Look for the video version of the podcast by Tuesday on the YouTube channel, which is in the description. And I guess we will see you all next week.
I'm not broadcasting tomorrow. Let's not do that.
No. Yeah. Next week, same time, same place. Probably 5 to 10 minutes late, like usual. So,
Yeah. It'll be around 7. Around 7.
So we will see you guys next week, hopefully.
Have a good one, guys.
Yep.
Take it easy.
Yep. Have a good day.